The PMP exam has changed, and one of the biggest changes is the introduction of case study questions. In these questions, you may need to read several paragraphs and use the same scenario to answer 3 to 5 questions. At first, this may look difficult and time-consuming. However, with the right strategy, these questions can actually become much easier to solve. In this video, I will explain how case study questions work and teach you a simple 4-step strategy called the case method. Then we'll apply this method to a realistic case study and solve 3 questions together step by step. After watching this video until the end, you will be able to solve case study questions very easily. So, let's get started. Before we begin, let me briefly introduce myself. I am Sabri C, the founder of casePM Academy and Land of Management Academy. My online PMP exam prep course has been a bestseller for many years and has helped thousands of students pass the PMP exam on their first attempt. You can find the course link below. As you may already know, the PMP exam changed in July 2026. One of the biggest changes is the introduction of case study questions. In the new exam, you may see around 10 to 15 questions related to case studies. These questions are usually based on 3 or 4 different scenarios. So, how does this work? First, you'll see a longer project scenario. Then, you'll answer several questions using the information provided in that same scenario. This is different from regular PMP questions. In a regular question, you normally read a short scenario and answer only one question, but in a case study, the scenario may include several paragraphs. It may also include a chart, table, graph, dashboard, or another visual. At first, this may look a little overwhelming. You may see many stakeholders, problems, risks, dates, and project details in the same case, but there is no need to worry. You do not need to memorize every detail. You only need to understand the big picture and know where to find the information required for each question. With the right strategy, case study questions can actually become some of the easiest questions in the exam. There are 2 10-minute breaks during the PMP exam. Currently, the first break comes right after the case study section, and this section includes 10 questions. This means that after taking your first break, you may need to answer around 85 questions before reaching your second break. Because of this, some students feel that the first break comes too early and the second one comes too late. Currently, there are some complaints about this break structure. PMI may make changes in the future based on feedback from exam takers. If PMI changes the placement of breaks or makes another important change to the exam experience, I will create a separate video about it. So please subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss the update. Okay, now let's look at a case study similar to the ones you may see on the exam. Here, you can see an example. As you can see, the scenario has several paragraphs. In the real exam, you may receive 3 to 5 questions based on the same case study. Having a good strategy for solving these questions can save you a lot of time during the exam. Let's read this scenario first, then we will discuss what you should do when answering case study questions like these. A healthcare company has started a project to develop a new patient portal that will allow patients to schedule appointments, view test results, and communicate with doctors. The project must be completed within 8 months because of a new government regulation. The user interface is being developed through 3-week iterations, while the database migration follows a detailed plan with approved scope, schedule, and cost baselines. Maria, the project manager, works with an internal development team, an external database supplier, a product owner, and representatives from the legal and cybersecurity departments. During the 4th iteration, several doctors complained that the recently demonstrated appointment feature does not support the way their departments schedule urgent patients. At the same time, the database supplier informs Maria that a key migration activity may be delayed by 3 weeks because two technical specialists are unavailable. The supplier believes the lost time can be recovered later, but the project team has not assessed the effect of the delay. The product owner asks the development team to change the appointment feature immediately because the doctors are important users of the portal. However, the requested change may affect the portal's security controls and has not yet been reviewed by the cybersecurity team. The sponsor is mainly concerned about meeting the regulatory deadline and asks Maria whether the project can still be completed on time. So, this is the scenario. As I said, you will get 3 to 5 questions based on this scenario. For example, one of the questions might be something like, what should Maria do first regarding the possible delay in the database migration? Now, when you first look at this case study, it may seem a little overwhelming. There are many people, several problems, and lots of details. For example, we have Maria, the project manager. We also have the sponsor, the product owner, the development team, the database supplier, the doctors, and the legal and cybersecurity departments. We also have more than one problem. The doctors are not satisfied with the appointment feature. The database supplier may be delayed by 3 weeks. The requested change may affect security controls, and the sponsor wants to know whether the regulatory deadline can still be met. The project also uses different delivery approaches. The user interface is developed through 3 week iterations. However, the database migration follows a detailed plan with approved baselines. At this point, you may try to remember every person, every problem, and every detail, but this is not necessary. In fact, trying to memorize everything may make the case feel even more difficult. You may also be tempted to read the entire case again before answering every question. This can waste a lot of time. Some details may be important for one question but completely irrelevant to another. Another challenge is that several answer choices may look reasonable. So, the real challenge is not the length of the case study. The challenge is finding the right information for each question and using it correctly. Fortunately, there is a simple strategy that can help us do this. The strategy is called the CASE method. CASE is an abbreviation for capture the big picture, analyze the question, search for evidence, and evaluate the options. So, let's talk about this strategy. When you first read the case, do not try to memorize every detail. Instead, try to understand the big picture. You can do this by identifying 5 things: the project goal, the project environment, the important people, the main problems, and the current stage of the project. Let's apply this to our case. Here, the goal is to develop a patient portal within 8 months and meet a new government regulation. The project uses different delivery approaches. The user interface is developed through 3 week iterations. However, the database migration follows a detailed plan with approved baselines. Therefore, this is a hybrid project. The important people include Maria, the sponsor, the product owner, the doctors, the development team, the database supplier, and the cybersecurity team. There are 3 main concerns. The doctors are not satisfied with the appointment feature, the supplier may be delayed by 3 weeks, and the requested change may affect the portal's security controls. The project is currently in progress. The team is in the fourth iteration, and some parts of the solution are already being demonstrated to users. That is enough for the first reading. You do not need to remember every word. You only need a simple mental map of the situation. The next step is to identify exactly what the question is asking. Pay close attention to words such as first, next, best, and most appropriate. Here, the question asks, what should Maria do first regarding the possible delay in the database migration? There are 2 important clues in this question: first and possible delay. The delay has not been confirmed yet, and its impact has not been assessed. After understanding the question, return to the case and search for the relevant information. You do not need to read the entire case again. Focus only on the details connected to that question. For this question, the most important sentence is this: the supplier believes the lost time can be recovered later, but the project team has not assessed the effect of the delay. This sentence gives us an important clue. The supplier believes the lost time can be recovered, but this is only an opinion. The project team has not yet assessed the impact. The final step is to compare the answer choices. Do not ask only whether an option is reasonable. Ask whether it is the best option for the situation. For each option, ask: does it address the actual problem? Is it appropriate at this point? Is it within the project manager's authority? And is it supported by the information in the case? Let's evaluate the options. Option A says that Maria should inform the sponsor that the regulatory deadline can still be met. However, the team has not assessed the delay yet. Therefore, Maria cannot make this promise. Option B says that Maria should ask the supplier to assign additional specialists. This may become a suitable response, but Maria should first understand the impact of the delay and determine whether additional specialists are actually needed. Option C says that Maria should assess the impact of the possible delay and evaluate response options with the project team. This directly addresses the missing information in the scenario and is the most appropriate first action. But let's also take a look at the last option. Option D says that Maria should escalate the supplier's resource problem to senior management. Escalation may become necessary later. However, Maria should first assess the situation and evaluate the available response options. Therefore, the best answer is C. So, when answering the case study questions in the PMP exam, always remember the four steps. Capture the big picture, analyze the question, search for evidence, and evaluate the options, or more simply, case. Before solving the remaining questions, let me share a few additional tips that can save you time and help you avoid common mistakes. First, do not try to memorize the entire case study. You only need to understand the big picture during your first reading. Then, for each question, return to the scenario and find the relevant details. Second, separate facts from opinions and assumptions. In our case, the supplier believes that the lost time can be recovered. However, this is only the supplier's opinion. The project team has not yet assessed the impact of the possible delay. Therefore, Maria should not treat the supplier's statement as a confirmed fact. Pay attention to words such as however, although, but, and recently. These words often introduce an important change or problem. For example, our scenario says the supplier believes the lost time can be recovered later, but the project team has not assessed the effect of the delay. The information after the word but is more important for answering the question. Do not treat information from an answer choice as a new fact. For example, option B mentions assigning additional specialists. This does not mean that assigning more specialists will definitely solve the problem. It is only a possible action presented as an answer choice. Do not assume that your answer to one question changes the original scenario for the next question. This is important. Each question should normally be answered using the original information in the case. Unless the next question gives you new information, return to the original scenario. Do not read the entire case study again for every question. Finally, manage your time across the entire case study. Do not spend too much time on the first question. If one question is difficult, eliminate the weaker options, flag your best answer, and continue. You can return to it before completing the case study section. Here, please note that before starting your first break, you can review your answers from the case study section. However, once you start the break, you cannot return to those questions. Therefore, Make sure you review any flagged questions before finishing this section. Okay then, let's solve the other questions about our scenario example. Here is the second question. Let's apply the case method. We already captured the big picture before answering the first question, so there is no need to repeat this step for every question based on the same case study. Let's move on to the second step then. Okay, the question asks, what should Maria do regarding the product owner's request to change the appointment feature immediately? The important word here is immediately. Now, let's return to the case and find the most relevant information. The key sentences are: the product owner asks the development team to change the appointment feature immediately because the doctors are important users of the portal. However, the requested change may affect the portal's security controls and has not yet been reviewed by the cybersecurity team. These sentences give us two important clues. First, the doctor's concerns are important and should not be ignored. Second, the team should not implement the change before understanding its security impact. Now, let's evaluate the options. Option A says that Maria should ask the development team to implement the change because the product owner is responsible for prioritizing the work. This is the most attractive distractor. The product owner is responsible for prioritizing the backlog, so this option may initially appear correct. However, the product owner's authority to prioritize work does not mean that security concerns should be ignored. The change has not been reviewed by the cybersecurity team. Implementing it immediately could create additional risks for the project. Option B says that Maria should work with the product owner, doctors, development team, and cybersecurity team to clarify and assess the requested change. This option addresses both parts of the problem. It allows the team to understand the doctor's needs and assess the possible security impact before implementation. This might be the best answer, but let's look at the other options as well. Option C recommends submitting the request directly to the formal change control process. This may seem reasonable because part of the project has approved baselines. However, this feature belongs to the user interface, which is being developed through iterations. The team should first clarify, assess, and prioritize the request within that environment. Option D recommends postponing the change until the database migration is completed. However, the case does not say that the appointment feature depends on completing the database migration. Postponing the request for this reason would introduce an unsupported assumption. Therefore, we can confidently choose option B. The best answer is B. Now, let's solve the last question about this scenario. Here's the question. Again, we'll apply the case method. Just as we did with the second question, we will skip the first step because we completed it before answering the first question. So let's analyze the question. The question asks, how should Maria respond to the sponsor's question about meeting the regulatory deadline? Therefore, the question is asking Maria to provide a reliable response about the project's completion date. The most important details are: the project must be completed within 8 months because of a new government regulation. The supplier believes the lost time can be recovered later, but the project team has not assessed the effect of the delay, and the requested change may affect the portal's security controls and has not yet been reviewed by the cybersecurity team. These details show that there are at least two sources of uncertainty: the possible supplier delay and the requested feature change. Let's evaluate the options then. Option A says that Maria should confirm that the deadline can still be met because the supplier believes the lost time can be recovered. This is the most attractive distractor. The supplier understands its own work and may genuinely believe that the delay can be recovered. However, this is still only the supplier's opinion. The project team has not assessed the impact. Maria should not promise that the deadline is safe without completing that assessment. Option B says that Maria should explain that the deadline must be extended because of the possible 3-week delay. This is also too early. The delay is still possible and the team has not determined whether its effects can be reduced or recovered. Option C asks the sponsor to contact the supplier directly. This would bypass Maria's responsibility to assess the situation and provide the sponsor with reliable project information. Option D says that Maria should assess the combined schedule effects of the supplier delay and the requested feature change before providing an updated forecast. This is definitely the best answer because it allows Maria to give the sponsor a response based on analysis rather than assumptions. Therefore, the best answer is D. So, case study questions may look long and difficult at first, but you do not need to memorize every detail. You just need the right strategy. Always remember the case method. Capture the big picture, analyze the question, search for relevant information, and evaluate the options. Apply these steps carefully, and case study questions can become much easier and faster to solve. If you found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to the channel. I will continue sharing new PMP exam questions, useful tips, and important exam updates. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.